Alright guys,
recited the words
so
my dad had taught me. Hands back,
I
eye on the ball,
switched it,
swing
but
through the ball. I repeated my mantra as the ball came in.
seen it?
The second the bat made
Alright,
contact,
I'm gonna
I
start
knew
making you
that I
guys watch it.
crushed it.
So
The ball
next time, hide your
soared
face. I
sky
gotta.
to the depths of
So
left
my
field.
brother is over
Mike was
there.
fast, but even as the
You guys
fastest kid
can
on the
see
block,
his face.
he couldn't catch this
over
one.
there.
He sprinted towards the ball as it came
Because
crashing
I don't
back
want you
down to
guys to
earth
see his
as I ran the
face,
bases.
so, yeah.
I
So for
grinned
now, I'm
ear to
just
ear
gonna
as I
do
rounded
this
third to home.
until like the next
Then
one
the
comes.
cheers from my team ended abruptly as the world seemed to pause in silence.
The world seems
We
to
all looked
pause.
in unison toward left field.
Alright guys, I'm gonna be
The baseball
quiet for
sat
the
at feet
next
of a man, at least what resembled a
2
man.
or 1 hour because it's 27.
Mike stood and stared,
So,
glancing back at us.
Maybe take 1 hour.
We all inched closer for a better look. The thing that stood in the field wore a black suit jacket, black pants, and a top hat. But it wasn't a man at all. It was, in all respect, a balloon. Someone had tied together a series of balloons to create a sort of ballooned animal human being and dressed it in clothes. The bulbous yellow head was oversized, with red balloon eyes and a big blue grin. It had a green nose sticking out like a ripe cucumber, and what looked to be drawn-on ears. Mike burst out laughing, breaking the silence. A sound I'll never forget. He dropped to the grass and rolled in hysterics. He got back up and stared the balloon creature in its inflated eyeballs. Is this the man our parents have been so scared of? A fucking balloon? His roaring laughter
Do
continued.
you want to just say?
Despite it being very windy that day, the balloon man didn't even flinch. It just stood, grinning its blue grin. Mike poked the balloon man with his finger and jolted back, grabbing his finger in pain. Jimmy tugged me by the shirt. I think we should go home. I nodded in agreement. We rode home in silence. At dinner, we did not mention the incident. Tension filled the kitchen like our parents already knew. That night, a shrill scream filled the street and jolted me out of bed. I ran downstairs, Jimmy tailing behind me. My dad yelled for us to stay inside. We didn't listen. Mike's mom stood outside screaming and pacing the street. Lights from the neighboring houses turned on one by one until we saw. Mike's mother held something in her arms. The neighbors stood from their lawns and gasped when they saw. She was holding a balloon version of Mike. It was even wearing his clothes. She continued her screaming, demanding to know where her son was, pleading with the neighborhood. She dropped to her knees, squeezing balloon impersonation in her arms. The pop echoed throughout the street, and Mike's mother sat on the pavement.
The bar store.
I was living in California at the time. I was driving to my parents' house for the holidays. They lived in a different state than mine, so I had to drive there. On the way, I saw an old bar that had a sign saying free drinks inside. And you know, I'm not a very tall and structured woman. I'm more on the skinnier side, and I try not to go out too much. But I thought to myself, why not? I mean, I am thirsty. So I went inside the bar, and when I got inside, there weren't very many people there. Just one man sitting at one of the tables and the bartender. When I looked back on this, I realized that the bartender and the guy were making mysterious glances at each other. As I walk up to the bartender, the man sitting at the table stood up. I glanced over at him, and he was staring at me straight in the eyes with a creepy smile plastered across his face. I asked the bartender what his problem was, and the bartender just innocently told me, I don't know, he just walked in right after you parked your car. And then it dawned on me, he only came in here because of me. I ran outside to check my car, but it was gone. I knew that the man who was sitting at the table stole my car. I ran back inside to tell the bartender, but when I got there, he had a look on his face like he already knew. As I started to gather all the information in my head, I realized that the bartender and the man sitting at the table were in on this together. Once I realized this, the man lunged towards me and had that creepy smile plastered across his face. I turned around and ran for my dear life. I was running what felt like for hours, but it was most likely minutes. I looked back and saw that he was just inches from me. I turned back and saw a police car, and to my luck, there was a police officer in the front seat. I started waving my hands frantically to get his attention, but to no luck, he was on his radio to another police officer. His face changed as he started to drive away. I turned around again to see if he was still following me, and he wasn't. I breathed a sigh of relief, but as soon as I turned around, both of them were standing in front of me with the same creepy smile. I started to run the other way, but now there was two of them. I ran for about 3 minutes more before he caught me and covered my mouth with the bartender's hand. They were dragging me back to my car, but I could hear the police sirens in the distance. The bartender pushed me onto the floor before running away. The police cars were seen in seconds. That was the last thing I remember from that night. I think I just blacked out. When I woke up, I was at my parents' house. There were police officers in the dining room speaking to my parents. I came in and the police officer started talking to me. He pretty much said that the men who stole my car escaped from a nearby mental institution. They were going to kidnap me and take my car, and then take me to an abandoned house that was near the bar. The policeman that was on the radio earlier was responding to a noise complaint in my parents' neighborhood. They never found the men at that bar, and I haven't been to a rundown bar ever since.
Baby in an abandoned house.
I'm Aksa. This incident happened when I was 12 years old. My parents were going out for dinner at a famous restaurant, and then we were planning to go to my uncle's house while I stayed with my best friend. Let's call her Karen. She was a very nice person. We planned to do many things, and we did watch movies and played video games. When we got bored, we decided to go to a nearby abandoned house, which was literally the worst thing we ever decided. Now, just for your information, it was a haunted house according to the rumors. The moment we entered, I had an eerie feeling and suggested Karen to leave the house ASAP, but she denied immediately. She was kinda an adventurous person. We suddenly found a map in the corner of the living room, which was weird, and it read go to the bathroom and go from the stairs, and that's how you'll get to the room upstairs. Karen and I were literally so curious as to what was upstairs in that room.
Alright guys,
We weren't
I'm
there
going
and
to
saw a
end the
crying
video
baby.
right now. I
We
know.
were startled when we thought that
But
someone
I'm gonna
must have
end the
left him
video
here
right
all
now.
alone.
Bye.